Hey guys, it's your boy Nico. I'm driving back from playing a little Magic the Gathering. This is my second week of not necessarily finding a new hobby, about staying busy and trying to make healthy connections and healthy relationships. I'm not saying that I haven't made those kind of relationships in the past, right? But as life is changing, the years are changing, so do I. I change along with the times just like anyone else does, right? But if you guys don't know already who I am and what I'm about, I am not just a spiritualist, I'm not just a light worker, not just somebody who tries to just fix and mend relationships wherever they reside, right? But I have something on my heart, and it's still weighing me down. And it has a lot to do with changes, and got to change with the times. And sometimes I feel irrelevant because the times are changing, and the less and less so that people are seeking out for my assistance or for my help, for that matter. And it sucks, but at the same time, it's also a good sign, because the less and less people that I find coming to me or seeking for assistance or relationship advice or help or insight about their, future through tarot card readings, whatever the case might be, the more that I find myself becoming irrelevant for those individuals, because whether if they just moved on, or if they're no longer following me, or if I'm no longer following them, or I'm blocking them, or they're blocking me, whatever the case might be, that connection is severed. Like, to me, in my deep down in my heart, deep down in the pit of my stomach, like, I still feel for this special connection that is still a part of me. Like, I grew an entire identity around this person, and they became a part of my psyche, they became a part of my emotions, they became a part of the very general makeup of who I am. And if you guys understand anything about universal law or universal truth and the law of one, is to recognize that you're a part of others and others are a part of you. And once you identify and associate with those certain aspects of you, it's really difficult and it's really hard to let go of these certain aspects of us that we have closely so identified with, if not intimately. And even though that this connection, that this aspect of me that I'm referring to was very intimate and very romantic in nature, but never physical in nature, and ever since that me and this person ever met each other at a fork in the road, and it's kind of like spiritually, we had our last spiritual handshake there. And my very last message to this person wasn't very insightful. It was very exactly the opposite. Because I told them, because after so many years, leading up until like 8 to 10 years, or even like a decade of being connected with this individual, that it's soul crushing. Because me and this person are no longer in touch, no longer in contact, but they still live on through art, through creativity, through music, whatever the case might be. And there are days like tonight where, as I'm speaking to you, that like tonight's like this are very difficult for me to even let alone be alone in order to process these emotions alone. That's why I'm here with you guys right now, trying to explain to you guys about this feeling that I'm feeling right now. And I know that I'm not alone. It's not a feeling of loneliness, but it's nor a feeling of numbness. There's something missing, and there's still that yearning, that longing, right? So I know those feelings and emotions are very apparent. And regardless of however many spiritualists and other healers come to me, and even though I have all this spiritual insight and spiritual knowledge about oneness and unity, and all of us at the rule of one, the law of one is that we're all one. And as soon as we understand that and recognize that within ourselves and others, there should be no reason why I should be feeling this way. But I do. I still feel like something's missing. And whether it's not a physical manifestation in my passenger seat of my truck, or offspring to call my own, and even though I do have offspring of my own that are not currently living with me, and even for the longest time since they're ever 1 or 2 years old, both my boys, and I'm still working, I'm still providing, I'm still doing the game, I'm doing the 3D matrix, I'm doing my part in life, and defending our country, doing what I need to do in order to protect others. But it's like, it always comes back to this emotion and feeling like, who's looking out for me, right? And what's looking out for me? And if it's not a physical manifestation or a physical person, there has to be a higher power that's looking after me. My guardian angels, spirits, and other light workers and guardians alike are looking out for my well-being and making sure that I'm being well taken care of, abundantly and whatnot. And still having my utmost trust and faith in the higher power, God Almighty, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, when is enough enough? Like, when can I give myself permission to just let down and stop carrying this load of a burden of this bag of stones and rocks and pebbles, and just lay down all this burden before my feet and just be like, okay, well, what am I carrying all this weight for? What am I carrying all this burden for? And if it's not for others, and if it's not for me, then I have to do it for a higher power. I have to do it for God, because there's nothing else here that's holding me back other than myself. And even if that's true, what's holding me back from seeking somebody else out? What's holding me back from seeking out another? And it all comes back to this emotion about them, about this individual, this aspects of me, plural, that I've resonated so out with in the last decade or so, to be such a huge part of me. And it's like I'm suffering in silence still. Like, you would think once a connection has been severed, and even if it's not at your own detriment because the other person decided to let go of said sacred connection, and yet I still feel them. I still feel them. Like, they are still around me energetically, and I never gotten around to even have it upon my heart or even mind to even get around to like block said connections on my end of it, because they've never wronged me. Like, yeah, sure, we're human beings and we make mistakes from time to time, but in actuality, in reality, they have done nothing to me other than this emotional and psychological warfare and spiritual warfare that we've been, at for the last decade or so. And I never meant it to become a war. I never meant it to become a battle or a fight. The only type of fight I was looking for was in the name of love. Like, this very thing that keeps going through my head is that I'll lay my guard down for you. I'll lay it all out. Like, I'll lay out my hand, and so you can see the cards that are in my hand before you and before me. And it's like, well, I bet everything. I bet all that is in my hand right now for this sacred connection. And it broke me down and nearly left me homeless twice. And I never told anyone this before. And the first time around, I had to have my parents help me back up and back on my feet when I fell hard, head over heels for this woman. And if not just one woman, like multiple at that. And I can't lie to myself about that neither. And if this hurt this woman's feelings to like open up, for me to open up about this, is because there was a heavy load of triangulation that was going on in said connection back then a couple years ago. And the reason why triangulation occurred is because she refused to open herself up to me beyond what she was comfortable doing. And I understand that wholeheartedly and respectfully. Obviously, it's obvious that people will never subject themselves to a certain level of risk, even themselves, they're not comfortable with opening themselves up about. Like, that part makes sense. But there's another aspect of it where there was breadcrumbing, there was gaslighting, there was leading, there was a very much so where it had me chasing after my own tail kind of feeling. Like, imagine a puppy dog that's in love, and no way, shape, or form was this puppy love at all. This was true love. Like, imagine a puppy chasing after its own tail and expecting to catch it. And eventually, over time, the puppy does catch the tail. And then it sits there with its own tail in its mouth. And then it sits there thinking to itself, it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? I caught my own tail in my mouth, and now I can't move, I can't speak. All I can do for my next move is to open up my mouth and let go of my own tail. And other people would be like, well, you just got caught with your own foot in your own mouth. Like, you thought you were a wise person, and then you ended up being a fool in the end, because this person made me think, like, with my mind, my heart, my body, and my soul, and all that is me that resonated out to be connected to her, as if something was plausible, as if something was attainable, as if something was realistic to be a real 3D relationship. And even though there's been instances behind the scenes where a lot of people will try to convince you, and I have a huge disclaimer about this too, a bunch of people try to cancel me, a bunch of people try to make up lies about me, saying that I was obsessed, infatuated, whatever the case might be in that regard, which was completely not true. It was real feelings, it was real emotions, and it was real love. And the more that I think about what I went through in order to try to be with this person, it forced me to grow in a certain type of way that I wasn't necessarily ready to grow up into that kind of ideal, quote-unquote, healthy mindset of everything, despite my own spiritual path and awakening and being a light worker and a spiritual teacher in that sense of having my own clientele basis and helping other people out, right? You know, it's easier to go out of your way to give advice and help other people, but it's also like trying to tell a doctor to heal themselves. And even though as stubborn as doctors can be in that regard, spiritualists are the same exact way, spiritually and psychologically. Like, even though we have all this wise knowledge and intellect about how to operate in a healthy way, we always get stuck on something, whether it's because of past trauma or something that we refuse to let go of and that we continue to hold on to. And it's a perpetual vicious cycle that we find ourselves spiraling into and down into, because this whole idealistic aspect of us manifested in our own mind that this thing could really happen. Like, I was 100% full-blown convinced that this kind of relationship was a real relationship. And regardless of how other people may be judging or biased and looking at this relationship that I'm talking about from the outside looking in, like, I'm not posting this to get other people's insight and judgments about what I had to personally go through emotionally, because I also know she might have been going through the same kind of feelings and thoughts and emotions just like myself, even though I was the proactive one to keep reaching out to her, even though she wasn't reaching out to me in return, protecting what other aspects that she had to protect for her own regard. And that part and aspect is understandable. But in my own defense, and here's the part that I wanted to open up to you guys about, is in my own defense, nobody, and I mean nobody ever in a million years ever deserves to like go through what I had to go through, especially when it came to quote unquote unreciprocated love, right? And the very fact that people will block you because either A, they refuse to face the truth of or hold themselves accountable to a certain extent about their own refusal in words and refusal of taking upon certain actions, or that follow through to be able to reciprocate said emotions. Instead of leading people on, what she should have done from the get-go was tell me how exactly she felt. And I felt like a lot of that was through the creativity process. And two, on my aspect of it, I honestly thought she was writing about me or singing about me, or if it was me writing about her, that these words were translated and transmuted, and then she used my words as a form of a muse, or using me as a muse to unlock certain messages throughout the process of creation in that regard. Or three, the very fact that you could just tell somebody straight out and flat out that no, I'm not interested in you, would have sufficed. Instead of leading on 8, 10, even a decade of unpredictability and uncertainty of, well, does this woman actually love me back? Like, I learned so much from that connection and from that relationship. It is beyond me. Like, beyond words can even fathom or even describe the notion of how deep I had to look inside of her in order to look that deep inside of myself at the same time. Was like looking at yourself in the mirror, or even the refusal of looking at yourself in the mirror. And even when she did, even when I looked myself in the mirror, I saw her. And which is also another discussion I want to save for the future. I'm going to let you guys know I'm really considering of shaving off all my dreads and just going completely, shaved bald for that aspect in regard, so then I can shed the layers of my physicality, so then I can transmute and transform myself, so then I can further let go of my past aspect or past selves, if not integrate it further into my psyche, so then I can become this new, quote-unquote, new version of Nico that I need to be for the future woman that ever walks into my life. So, and here's one more tangent and one more regard before I end this video. Another person was speaking upon in their podcast whether or not if we're able to ever be friends ever again with a person that we had a situationship with, or even an ex, right? And in my personal opinion, I really don't think it's possible to become friends with your ex. I mean, anything is possible in said relationship. This probably doesn't draw a pretty blanket over all relationships, right? But just speaking on my own experience in situationships and everything I've personally been through in the past, that I don't believe that you can become friends with your ex, especially when you've been so deeply romantic or deeply involved with these different aspects of you, that you're so deeply entangled and woven into through our very fabrics of our souls get woven together. And whenever you tear these threads apart, even before they were even registering that these threads were about to be torn apart, is beyond suffering. It's beyond the chaos of the unknown. It's beyond the normal surface aspects of what it means to have a romantic partner, a romantic relationship. These very aspects of me got torn away from me because she was and still is a part of me, even still to this day. I have the deepest love and desire for this woman still. I still resonate out to be so madly head over heels in love with her that it makes it super difficult for me to replace those threads with anything else or anyone else. And as these days are going by, and I'm going to say this one last thing, is no, I don't believe that it's possible to be friends with an ex or even a situationship. Because those aspects of you that you closely resonate out with, to be ever so close to you or even a part of you, it hurts to know that you were so deeply connected and so close to somebody once upon a time, only for them to eventually find themselves woven together with another soul that is not you. And that hurts. And even if they're silent or quiet or behind the scenes about something, or maybe she was never straight from the beginning of it all. Maybe she was bi, maybe she was gay, maybe she was lesbian. Who knows? Because she was never very open about that aspect of her, because it was a very private thing. She's a very private person, and I had to respect her boundaries in that regard, even if she wasn't talking to me. But to defend my honor, to defend what I had going on in my own emotions, and to defend my own emotions, and to know that they were very valid, and they still are, and are always going to be valid, just like anyone else's emotions. But the very fact that I don't respect the fact that she had to block me, all because I told her that this will be the last time that you'll ever hear from me. I made that judgment call and decision to do that because I was protecting my own sanity, so I didn't have to fall, even deeper into that negative rabbit hole of, is she into me or not? Because I understood we were not going anywhere with that connection and that relationship beyond what we already established with each other or for each other, if she has ever loved me as much as I loved her. And that's a big if. But the only examples that I have is what was written down and what I gave to her, and what was written down by her and what was given to me once upon a time. But that's all I pretty much have to say. I love these little night rants and driving sessions that I have to do along with y'all, and thank you so much for tuning in. If this message resonated with you, I'm going to leave the comment section open for a certain period of time, unless some troll or some hater wants to comment on this video, then I'll block the comments. But just know, whoever and wherever and whatever that you associate yourself with, know like 220% that no shit that your person that you're head over heels for in love with actually loves you back. It'll save you all that time and all that, uncertainty, all those years of uncertainty, and it'll just save you a whole lot of time, money, and effort, and tears, and pain and suffering to just find out after all those years that she's never felt that way about you, and then ends up blocking you in the end. The only reason why I said what I said to her is because I was trying to protect my own heart and my own sanity. But
in half a mile, keep left to continue on Dale Drive, Old Highway 45 North.
Sorry, that was a GPS. I don't know if you heard that or not. But that was me just trying to protect my own sanity and my own emotions and own heart. And I'm 1,000 times...
Keep left to continue on Dale Drive.
1,000 times apologetic and sorry that things couldn't work out. And even still to this day, if she ever unblocked me and ever came back to me, I'd still lay it down for her. I'll never stop loving her. And if that makes me a creepy guy, so be it. I said what I said. I love you guys. Love and light to all of you. This is your boy Nico. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye.